Hi everybody, welcome back to Resistance Studio, and I'm here with Thurston, and we're here for our second part of our podcast on mindset, and Thurston is here with me.
Hello everybody.
And I'm Christina, and Thurston, what would you say is your number one thing on mindset that you think is the overriding factor?
Yeah, so the mindset is fascinating to me because like everyone thinks it's all about what we do is like exercise, nutrition, and of course we're big into all of those things, but I think it's something that really differentiates us from everywhere else is that we really do understand that ultimately it's all about behavior change. It is about the mindset. Because most people know, yeah, I should exercise, I shouldn't be eating ultra processed food. We've covered it numerous times. That's what really is going to get you really poor health, etc. So the first thing I would say is understanding that ultimately in our minds it's our belief that's going to override everything else. So if you believe you're going to succeed, your chances of success are much greater. If you believe you're going to fail, then you're probably going to fail. So that's like an overriding factor is what is your underlying belief? Because everyone thinks about, just consciously I should think positively or have a goal. But if they don't understand that the belief is the bigger overriding factor, then absolutely nothing is going to happen.
And what would you do with someone then who say they have their goal and they're trying to believe it, but they're not getting the result? What would you do next?
So that's quite frankly most people, because they'll come in. The first thing I'll notice is that their goal is going to be pretty vague. So they'll go, I'd like to get into shape, be fitter, healthier. Okay, well, what does that mean? I mean, does it mean you want to be 1% healthier or 10%? What does that mean? What does it look like? So to have a really clear goal is the first step. So I kind of go, okay, well, what exactly does that look like to you? I mean, so what is being in shape? Is it an inch off the waist, 3 inches off your waist? Is it 10 pounds down on the scale? What exactly does that look like? Or if you're going to be healthier, maybe it's to improve your blood sugar, blood pressure, to have more energy. Again, what does that look like? Are you tired in the afternoons, in the evenings? How would it feel? How would it look if you had an extra 3 hours of energy every day? So I'd really get into the goal in a big way so that they could absolutely get a super clear picture. The other thing is about goals is that it has to be exciting enough for them to be motivated. Because if you said like, okay, well, how about we set a goal, or not a big goal, but a goal of, okay, you're going to lose 1 pound this year. It's not exactly going to wake up out of bed, whoa, I've 0.01 of a pound lost today or something. It's not exactly life-changing. Now, you don't want it too big that it's like unachievable, but it's got to be big enough that it's going to motivate you, that it's something exciting enough. So that's something, and I know we both do this with the clients a lot, is really get deep into the goal. So it's a super, super clear picture. Now, of course, the big thing is how does that then change the underlying belief? And I think that's where the magic kind of happens, where most people don't understand. Because again, even if you've got a clear goal, which is a much better place to start, your belief can still be working against you. Because beliefs are the most powerful thing. I mean, if you think of there's literally millions of studies on belief, because every time you do a double-blind study, so for those of you who don't know, a double-blind study is where they have two groups of people. One group, they'll give them the intervention, so it could be like a medication to lower your blood pressure. Or it could even be a diet to lose weight. But then the other group is like a control group. So they might give them a fake pill, so they don't know which one they get. Now, the reason they do that, this is fascinating, is because they know that the fake pill can work. In other words, if they believe that their blood pressure is going to drop, and you'll see this in all the studies, the placebo can actually work. So the belief that they're going to lower their blood pressure actually changes their blood pressure. The belief that their blood sugar is going to improve is actually going to work. So your belief has an amazing impact even on the physiology of the body. And this has been proven over and over again. So when you go to do something, plus it's going to have this knock-on effect, because if you believe, for instance, you're going to lose weight and you take a pill, like again in the studies, you could get the fake pill and still lose weight, because even subconsciously, maybe you'll eat a little bit less.
Yeah.
Because you think you feel fuller because you're taking a medicine that's supposed to make you feel fuller. So the belief is such a huge, like, kind of magic overriding factor. And even in some of the best psychologists who ever lived, like Albert Bandura, his whole thing on self-efficacy shows that if you believe you're going to succeed, you've got a good self-belief, then the chances of success obviously improve.
So what would you do if the person just didn't believe?
Yeah, well, that's what most people, they come in, they have a vague goal, so you clarify that. Now, changing the belief is so there's a lot of different approaches. Now, if I was to be super direct, and this is something that I would do myself, then what you do is, so there's a bit of a magic formula to this, where how do beliefs get there in the first place, which is interesting. So in other words, if you think of, someone might have a belief, like it could be a phobia. So say they're afraid of spiders. So now a real phobia is not just, oh, it's a spider, I don't like them, but a real phobia is like they will freak out if a spider is in the room. And that could have occurred, for instance, it could have been a kid or a baby, and a spider lands in their face and they get a fright, they don't know what it is. And then what the mind, it almost like takes a snapshot. Spider equals fear. So when all of your attention is focused on something, and I mean, PTSD is a form of that as well, where if you're in sort of the shock situation, it means all of your attention, all of your mind is focused on what's happening in that moment, and then associations are created. So it can be something, it's your level of attention or the amount of attention that you're paying until the point that all of your mind is focused. Then it literally takes this snapshot, and then that becomes a belief, positive or negative. And it's also repetition. It's what you see as well. So as you're growing up, if you're constantly seeing something over and over again, then that's going to be your overriding belief. So if you always believe, well, this is what's going to happen, and that's the way I've always seen it, then obviously that becomes a belief as well. So when I'm working with people, I kind of see, well, does it look like, I mean, even we ask them these questions, like how motivated are you? But then how confident are you that you're going to achieve the results? So very quickly you'll know whether or not the person has a problem. Because if I say, okay, here, if you want to lose weight, for instance, well, then I can just say, okay, here, eat this, do this exercise. There's no question they're going to get the result. And if it was easy as that, well, then you'd have a 100% success record all the time, and it would be easy and everyone would be in shape. But obviously it's not. Yeah. So there is an underlying kind of belief system that's working against the person. So then I kind of look at it from the point of view of, okay, get the goal really clear and then get their full attention and focus on that goal. And that's where most people drop, because they just think, oh, well, yeah, I've got this goal and that's it. And then hopefully I'll achieve the result. But if you can get your focus to the point that you really see the outcome in your mind, and you bring in all of your senses. So thoughts are interesting because they have to come in the form of one of our senses. So if you think something, it could be a picture that you see in your mind, or it could be auditory, which means it's like internal dialogue. People, like if you actually realize where like the sounds, or we could be internal dialogue, we're actually talking to ourselves all the time, or the feelings. So a thought has to come in the form of a feeling or a visual or an auditory. So, so if you want to pay all of your attention, then you got to wrap up all of your senses in the goal. So if you visualize it really clearly in your mind and you can see the picture, you bring in the sounds and you bring in the feelings, now there's no part of your mind left over to be thinking something else. And if you can get enough of your attention onto that goal, then what happens is it passes on to the subconscious mind. in the same way that if you're in a shock situation, you're not thinking anything else, all of your senses are in the moment. And that's why you get a phobia. That's why you get PTSD, because it's this heightened emotional state that you're not thinking about what you're going to have for dinner while, I don't know, something terrible is happening or something like that. But it can also work positively. You can get very excited and you can get a lot of emotional intensity, which draws all of your senses into your goal.
And that's what I'm thinking, is that excitement really helps lock onto the goal as well, right? If they can kind of get themselves really excited about that future self.
Exactly. So that's what I do. I'd say, well, how does that look to you? Really, wow. So if you really, got into shape and you improved your health, that you were kind of struggling with your health or whatever it is, how would that look to you? And, what would people say to you? What do you think they'd say to you if you achieved that goal? And how would that make you feel? So you start to talk about the different senses, and then they go, yeah, wow, it'd be great because I would look great and my clothes would fit better. People would probably say to me, wow, you look great. Yeah, it would feel amazing. It's what I've always wanted to do, and been struggling with this, and I'm not happy with the way I look, or I'm not happy with my health or my energy. So once you start to get all of their senses into it, they get more and more excited about it. They go, wow, yeah, that would be great. And yeah, so I mean, this is how a good book is written or a good movie, because all of your senses are focused on it. And then when all of your senses are focused on it, obviously it gets more exciting.
Or good marketing.
Exactly. I mean, that's what all the top companies do. I mean, it's fascinating. I mean, I just saw this morning this LinkedIn post, and it was saying that, all these top brands, like it's 80% marketing and 20% product, and they said Coca-Cola, Nike, and whatever. And I mean, they're everyone's saying, yeah, it's all about the story. All the marketing people were getting excited. Yeah, it's all about this. It's nothing to do with the product. And I find that really weird, because what they're saying is, it's just all, in a word, propaganda, which sounds weird, but propaganda is how all this started. So Edward Bernays, way back 100 years ago, he was Freud's nephew, came up with propaganda. He wrote the book, and then they rebranded propaganda because then Hitler used it in World War II, so it got a bad reputation. And then they rebranded it as PR, public relations. But it's exactly the same formula. So what they discovered was, because Edward Bernays studied Freud, that we have these subconscious needs and desires, and what they do is they attach the product onto that. So if you want, like, we have human innate things that we want. We want to feel loved. We want happiness. We want joy. So if you look at the products like Coca-Cola, enjoyment, they have this, and they spend a lot of money and a lot of research. So essentially, why is a brand worth what it's worth, like billions of dollars? Because it has mind share. Because when you have that subconscious need or desire for happiness or for joy or for whatever it is, then you're going to associate that with those products. Like
those designer brands as well, the luxury, and people are willing to pay thousands for something that's maybe $50 to make.
Yeah, which I can never understand.
Anyway. It's interesting.
Totally, yeah. But that's how all this works. So the real problem is we're in this world, this environment that they've literally taken over our minds. And then they've caused us to act in a certain way that doesn't work for us, because, like, we're in a world now where we've never been so unhealthy. So the average person is the unhealthiest and the unhappiest that humans have ever been, in particular in the last 50 to 100 years when all this stuff started. So it's all about the mind. It actually is. It's all about the mindset. So so they spend a lot of money to do this, and they make a lot of money, and you can see the money just goes into more marketing and more mind programming, essentially. So if you want to break out of that and actually take control of your health in an unhealthy world, you have to understand this and snap out of it. Now, we don't like consciously sit down and explain this to people, although maybe now we are through this podcast. And in fact, we're going to be launching a new course in the new year, and we will actually show people how to do this consciously. Because normally I'll just talk people, I'll understand this and I'll reframe things and reassociate things without them even knowing. But at least now I'm associating the good food and the things that's going to help them achieve their goal, rather than
Like marketing the good foods.
exactly. Yeah, I'm doing what the marketing companies are doing on a one-on-one basis, and I'm saying, "Wow, isn't it much better to eat this? And don't you feel better?" And you
List the
reassociate
benefits.
reality, quite frankly, because it's not real. Like if you take, brown sugary water, one of the top brands in the world ever is just brown sugary water. The physiology works against you. It's going to cause huge blood sugar spike, which can end up with diabetes, etc. And it's not going to get you the results. It'll make you hungrier.
Inflammatory.
Yeah, the ultra-processed food is very carefully designed so that you'll become addicted to it and want to eat more and more and more. So they carefully design these products so that, like, once, even in the advertising, sometimes they'll literally spell it out. Oh, once you start, you won't be able to stop.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. So they're doing things that's going to cause people to become less and less healthy, and we know that with ultra-processed food. So that's the big thing. It's like when you understand that, then you can reprogram that so that when you want to feel good, you'll reach for healthy food. Because again, it is fascinating to me that you can have a donut in one hand, you can have an avocado in another hand. One thing is going to give you really good health, really good energy, really good nutrients for your brain, for your heart, for everything. The other one is going to do the opposite. And once you realize, and that's what I think the education comes in. We educate people a lot, because then even understanding it, oh wow, that's going to make me feel good, that's not going to make me feel good, you start to take control of the process, which is amazing. So now, like for me, it's so easy because I understand it, and I've changed my mindset as well. When I see that ultra processed food, I see this like dark, gray, horrible thing that's going to just suck the life out of me. It's going to make me feel horrible. It's going to give me inflammation, which is essentially depression, by the way. And whereas this other thing is going to make me feel great, is going to give me good, sustained energy, is going to help my circulation, is going to get me all the results that I want, is going to give me the life that I want. So it's going to give me joy. It's going to give me more energy so I can play with my kid more,
Seems like an effortless decision.
Exactly.
Right.
That's the magic word, effortless. When you change your belief system, it does become completely effortless. And I see so many people struggling, and they're trying to use willpower, and they're trying to do, discipline and all this.
Negative self-talk.
Yeah,
Like, oh, I did this. And
it's like, oh, this is so hard, but I'm going to force myself to do it anyway. And they might be able to do that for a short period of time, but this is why 95% of these things fail, is because ultimately the belief thing is just going to override, and you can't consciously do that for your whole life. Like it's just way too much effort. Whereas if you change the belief, and then your association with feeling good is with good food, well, then there is no effort. Like it does not take effort for me. Like even as I say it and think about it, even as I'm here now, I'm looking at my hand and thinking about a donut. Other people think that's great. I think it's disgusting. Like I just think it's pure garbage. I know the industrial seed oils, it goes through this. It's just like, if you look at the process, we've got a video in our masterclass about it. It's this mush that comes out, this 14-stage process, and it's this sludge that they try to make into this oil that they're going to put into this donut.
And you're going to put it into your system.
Yeah, and you're going to put that horrible stuff in there along with the sugar and the processed stuff that's going to cause my blood sugar to spike. And I just see it as, because I understand it, what it does is it rusts your body and it rots your body. So what happens with extreme, diabetes, you take your insulin, it shoves more sugar into the cells until they literally rot. And then they need to get amputations, cut off their feet and stuff like that. So if you know that and you see that in the food, it does not take a lot to motivate. I mean, it's literally like, because most people, they're unhealthy. 93% of Americans are metabolically unhealthy, right? So we're unhealthy. Our cells and our bodies are not healthy. So it's like if you put your hand in the fire and you're wondering, why is it that I've got this horrible pain? And now once you know your hand is in the fire, it doesn't take a lot of effort to take your hand out of the fire. Your hand is out of there. It's done. You're out of there. And it's the same with this. If I look at that food, I'm picking on donuts, it could be pizza, it could be any other ultra processed food, candy or whatever, but it's just like, it's terrible. Like it really is poisoning the world, literally. And it's poisoning me if I ate it. So I'm just not going to do it. And then I am so like just even subconsciously drawn to the right type of foods. So then it's never an effort. I'm never on a diet. I just eat healthy because I've realigned my belief systems. So again, if you think about it, all you're doing is you're taking control of the process rather than letting all the companies and the marketing and advertising to reprogram your brain so that you want or you desire unhealthy food. That's all you're doing. So once you do that, then it's so much easier. And then you can just live your whole life, your longevity, your energy, everything is so much better. And even your psychological, your mood levels, you feel much better because all that stuff is going to inflame my brain. That inflammation and stuff like that, it's going to make me feel horrible. So like, why would I want that? It's insane. Like, I mean,
so it's like flip it upside down. They're kind of marketing them for happiness, but actually it's the opposite.
Yeah,
they're going to make you unhappy and sick and lethargic.
Completely. I mean, it's so unfortunate because the whole world is suffering just because of this simple understanding. And the environment is working against you. So you do, and I can see it. I mean, working with people for 30 years now, doing 10,000 consultations, you see the difference. People find it harder now to eat healthy than they ever did.
The environment has gotten harder, hasn't it?
Absolutely. But that's what's
normalized, the junk foods.
100%. Completely normalizing unhealthy junk food. It is woeful. So this stuff is literally, and it's crippling economies. I mean, we're now $4.5 trillion in healthcare and all that. So, we've talked about that before. But the mindset stuff is just like, wow, there is your decision. I always just see it like these two things, healthy, unhealthy. And then when you understand, the education helps. But that mindset, again, whenever I need to, I'll even consciously do it, where I'll just go, okay, I'm going to visualize exactly what I want. And I'll get it so clear in my mind. I'll bring in all of my senses, visual, auditory, kinesthetic, what I see, what I hear, what I feel, to the point that then that changes my subconscious beliefs. Because if I just leave it to the environment and the world, we know what that outcome is, and we don't want that. So I'm going to take control of my own mind.
So would you say it's a good idea for people at home who have a clear goal or want to have a clear goal to write it out very clearly like that, the visual, what they'll see, what they'll hear, how they'll feel,
Absolutely.
and lock it in that way?
Yeah. Because if you write it out, even the process of writing it out makes it much clearer in your mind. So even when you do that, and that's something that I would do just in general for any goals, but definitely for health. So when it's that clear on my mind and I've got that outcome, and you can do it for anything, but definitely clearly, like we're obviously talking in relation to health. And then what I love about it is it becomes effortless. And I just feel like it's like waking up out of a dream, waking up out of a nightmare, actually. When I see it, because if you see it like that, you'll realize, wow, do I really want to be part of that? Or do I want to take control and have an amazing life full of energy, great longevity? You're going to feel better, look better, get all the results that you want. So again, going back to your goal, going back to that. So again, because you could even like contrast your goal with the opposite. Wow, do I really want to go down? Yeah, exactly. I like contrast because I always like to use, and we talked about this in the motivation, both positive and negative motivators. So I'll get excited about the good food, but I'll also get disgusted by the bad food. And now I'm rewiring my brain. And then it, like I said, it becomes absolutely effortless.
Like that statistic, I'm thinking that you said on cancer, that every 10% of ultra processed foods in your diet, that your risk of cancer goes up 12%.
Yeah,
And that's pretty scary.
absolutely.
That's a good deterrent, I think.
Yeah, because if you
Right, or
visualize it even like that, oh wow, I'm going to consume that. It's going to literally toxify all my cells. It's going to create inflammation. Like, who wants that?
yeah.
It's disgusting. Like, it's really like literally like poison. I mean, one of the clients was saying like they had there was National Cream Donut Day, and in the office they bring in all these donuts to give to people. And I mean, I liken that to, and this is not an in fact, this is a very good total parallel. This is not an exaggeration. Like, what would you do if you walked in and there were cigarettes on all the tables, that they're handing out cigarettes? Would you think that's acceptable? That's okay? Like, I just think it's like,
Right, no one would stand for it.
but honestly, with the donuts thing, we know it's not good for you. All that sugar, industrial seed oils, and ultra processed carbs, we know it's not good for you. So, but they're giving it out because it's like makes people happy. Yeah, well then so do cigarettes if you're addicted to nicotine, right? And you could give out drugs, like, but people say, oh well, one donut's not going to kill you.
I'm doing it as a sign of appreciation, like as an offering of thanks so much for being an employee or a friend, or where it's why would you do that?
It's this positive reward system or whatever. Oh, here you go. But yeah, so is like cocaine. Do you want to give out lines of cocaine? You know what I mean? Because people will say, oh well, one donut's not going to kill you. Well, one cigarette's not going to kill you. So why not just dish out cigarettes? It's the same thing. So when I see that, and even in schools and stuff, they literally have like Pizza Fridays or Thursdays.
Pizza Friday's a big one internationally, I think.
Oh God, like, I mean, it's insane when you think about those things. Like, it really is. It's insanity. I mean, that's unfortunately, as humans, we are at that point.
There's a gym that does a Pizza Friday, isn't there? I won't name them.
Gosh.
And I know, Thurston, you've worked a lot with different people and different athletes in different areas. What would you say is your biggest kind of turnaround that you've seen for professionals in that area?
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating in sports because this is all like, it's funny because now it's accepted in sports. Like, every athlete does a lot of what I'm talking about. They'll visualize the game before they play it. They do all these different techniques of the mind, and all the best athletes in the world. Yeah. I remember back in, 2005 in Ireland, even introducing any of this, people thought, like, what are you talking about? The weird mind stuff. What are you doing? Some weird voodoo stuff or something. And now it's totally acceptable. But yeah, I remember working with this soccer team. And again, this is actually a good example, because when I went along, I said, well, what's your goal? And they said, well, we don't have a goal. We just play and we hope to get better. And I'm like, that's okay. That's not how it works. So I said, well, I mean, this season, do you not have an outcome or a goal that you're working towards? Well, no, we just gradually want to try to get better. I said, well, can you not try to win something like the league or the cup? And they said, well, the league's half over, but we're still in the cup. It's only the first or second round. So, okay, well, why not pick that as a goal? So I got them focused on the goal and visualizing it and stuff like that. And we really worked on that and used all the mindset stuff about getting your whole mind, your visualizing the outcome, bringing in all your senses, etc. And we did that before every match. And of course, they kept winning every match. The whole team, yeah. And then every match, they won. Right up until the final, and then of course they won. And they'd never won anything. Like 30 years previous, they made it to a final, but that club had never won anything, and then they won the cup, and they did really, really well. So and we trained them as well, so they were stronger, fitter. But the real success was for sure the mindset. And I remember with another athlete as well, he's one of the top midfielders in the country. And but he was, and I think they were at the quarterfinal stage or something, but he was not playing well. I mean, he was taken off halfway through the game because he just wasn't playing well. And then the next game was a week later for the semifinals, and did all the visualization. The next match, he got man of the match. So he literally went from being taken off for playing so badly to being man of the match in 1 week just by changing the mindset. So it really does work. But that's what excites me, is that really, wow, if you can get people just to change their mindset. So I would just say, look, really get your goals super clear, absolute, as much detail as you can. Visualize it. Relax your mind, visualize it. And we're going to do this as part of the next course in January, and get that super, super clear. Understand how bad the bad food is and how good the good food is, and start to associate with that how you feel, because you will start to see the pattern. Like if you eat bad food, in a couple of hours, tell me how you feel. And then you'll see the associations in your brain start to pick up. Wow, last time I ate that, a couple of hours later, I felt awful. Like if you take a little note.
Right, and you start craving the wrong food again, it creates this
cycle.
bad cycle.
Yeah. So that's a huge part to it. And then you contrast that with the good food. And again, if you've got a really clear goal of how you're going to have this incredible health and energy to play with your kids, or more energy with your family, or whatever, whatever it is that's going to motivate you, lean into that and just keep associating the good foods with that's bright, positive, is going to take you one step closer to the goal, and the other stuff is going to just, it's awful. And you wake up out of that nightmare, and then it becomes, again, you don't have to constantly keep doing this. Once you do it and you change the belief structure, it's effortless for the rest of your life.
You're on it, I think, as well. Like sometimes I think people can eat the wrong thing. I don't know if you see this, and then they just kind of feel like, oh, I'm broke it, and it's this negative mindset. Whereas I would feel like if I ate the wrong thing, which wouldn't be very often, but if I did, I'd think, well, I'm most of the time eating the right thing, so it's not a big deal, and I'll continue with eating the good stuff. It's not this negative reinforcement.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's the self-efficacy. It's the stages of self-efficacy. Albert Bandura did all the work on that, but because we build up their self-confidence. So the number one is whatever you see. Like if you see other people succeed, then you believe you can. So we always share all the results that we get, and when they see other members like getting awesome results, then they go, well, if they can do it, then I can do it. Then of course you've got your past. So if you've got a string of successes, you think you're going to succeed, a string of failures. So we always emphasize, okay, maybe you didn't, drop 20 pounds this month or whatever, or 10 pounds, but then wow, you've managed to cut out sugar and you worked out 3 times a week. That's 12, 13 sessions. So you keep building up all these little hits, these little successes, and that helps your confidence hugely. And then, of course, the people around you, if you have people that believe in you, and that's what we do, we really visualize the outcome for each of our people so we believe in them. You surround yourself with people that believe in you, it makes it so much easier. And then the response to setbacks, what you're talking about there. So they're all the things of self-efficacy. So if you fall off the horse, you get back on. So you had a bad weekend or even a bad week, but then the last 3 months, you've made all these positive things. So maybe it's not as big a thing, and you've done it before, now you can do it again. So all of that sort of thing, all of those things will really, really help. And so we always do that with people. We just don't consciously spell it out. But you put all that together and then you'll succeed hugely.
Okay, so to close up, do you want to talk a little bit about what we're going to cover next time?
Yeah. So the next one is the 3rd-part series, is all about the tips and tricks of what to do, how to do it, counteracting like stress, if you're traveling, just even simple ideas and suggestions if you're on the road. So all the practical tips and tricks, which lots of people love that. But like I said, we wanted to get the motivation in, the mindset, and now we'll give you all the tips and tricks because you've earned it. But you have to listen to the first 2. You're not allowed to listen to the 3rd one without listening to the first 2. That's the deal.
Great, awesome. So we'll see you next time.
Absolutely.